right, we're going to wrap this up. 2 more comics come to the stage. This guy is fucking awesome. He kicked ass at his Just for Laughs audition. I loved it. And he's here right now, so please welcome Mr. David Heti.
George always somehow ends up taking all my George's father's funeral material before I come on. But I actually had a friend who attended his grandfather's funeral recently, and kind of, in a solicitous fashion, I was like, "So how was your day?" He's like, "I had 5 pieces of cake." But I remember when my grandfather, being on my grandfather's side, as he lay on his deathbed reminiscing about his youth, about the women he'd loved and the places he'd been and the friendships he cherished. And he spoke with such joy and passion and enthusiasm that I couldn't help but wish that I too was dying. A lot of comics like to come up here and tell, try a bunch of new things for the first time. But I'm just going to tell a bunch of old stuff that's never really worked. But I find it embarrassing always coming in, with a tiny erection no one can see. But I don't like this mic stand. But I suffer from an extremely complex Freudian problem. Whenever I have sex, I can't help but think of my mother, and so obviously it makes things quite difficult whenever we try to role play. No, but I recently broke up with my girlfriend, and it's been very difficult. Now, the beginning of every joke I tell makes me sound like a really generic comic. But few people know this, but Stevie Wonder and I were actually separated at birth by 30 years and different parents. Sometimes I can't help but wonder how things might have been had I never come up with this joke. The other day, though, I came across just this incredibly heartbreaking obituary of this woman who was born with AIDS, who courageously her entire life refused to see herself as a victim. And then tragically at 23, she died of hubris. That's actually the... Now we go into sort of the dark material, so play along. But you often hear about the distorted feminine ideal that creates in these women all these eating disorders and mental sort of insecurities. But no one ever talks about how difficult it is for me to find a girl whom I can bring myself to fuck. Fridays now are take your issues with the office to work day. Although I was really pushing for Tuesdays. Although every year on my birthday I like to hire a hooker and have her indulge me in my deepest fantasy, in which we pretend that I'm loved. But I find that a good day is when I can write at least one decent joke. But it's incredible what now passes as a good day. Yeah. This friend of mine, though, he wants to go to Africa and volunteer, but he doesn't. He's very political and he's a deep thinker. And he doesn't want to be part of some sort of Western colonial organization that imposes their own sort of idea of what needs to be done. So he wants to just go give his time and labor to whatever Africa needs. So for the next 6 months, he's working with the Sudanese government, raping Darfurians. But I hate those parents who are always pushing their kids to do the things that they never got a chance to do. Like this one family friend, her daughter spends all her time doing child porn. I'm just like Mrs. Granby. Susie doesn't like anal. She likes soccer. But I have an unhealthy relationship with food. At least that's what the broccoli told me. I thought we need to sort of balance it out a little. Just, take a little breather. But I think what's worst about child molestation is the fact that these kids aren't receiving a proper sexual education. What good is a sexual partner who, instead of looking out for your needs, is always locked in the washroom cutting him or herself? But my girlfriend was quite relieved to hear that my blood tests reveal I have no STDs. Although now I have to come up with a new reason to always be coming in her face. I know a lot of you women sometimes have difficulty enjoying the things that I say, but I think you have to try seeing it from the other side of the patriarchy. I was telling one of my more misogynistic jokes one evening about the rape and murder of some woman, and after my set, a man from the audience came up to me and said, I think you ought to be aware of the fact that in real life, my wife was actually raped and murdered. And he told me this, and I had one of those moments where things sort of stand still and you start to see things differently. And when I finally gathered a hold of myself, I apologized to the man for being so incredibly thoughtless and told him that from now on, you can be the one to tell the joke. But I find often women who've had miscarriages have difficulty seeing the humor in the things that I say. It's almost as if something died inside of them. Yeah, that was the one that really sort of crossed the line, I suppose. But last weekend, this friend of mine revealed to me that she has cancer. However, I chose not to burden her with how she'd ruined my evening. Sometimes I'm not sure, though, whether life's worth all the trouble. All I can say for certain is that it takes up all my time and money. It's not that I'm dissatisfied with my general sense of alienation from the rest of humanity. It's just that I'd like someone with whom to share and enjoy it. But life sometimes I don't know whether to laugh or cry. So I turn to Oprah. But to whom does she turn? My girlfriend and I, we don't practice any form of contraception, although for birth control we prefer abortion. I remember people being really outraged when finding out that the director Roman Polanski pleaded guilty to essentially raping a minor. But I think we're forgetting that he was also a Holocaust survivor. So in my mind, it kind of evens out. Really, this 13-year-old girl, she was kind of like his Palestine. As a side note, though, I actually came up with this after someone challenged me to write a joke that would offend Jews, women, and fans of Chinatown. Sometimes, though, the days can get so lonesome, so I try to, introduce them to each other, and but it's incredibly difficult to find a time that's convenient for everyone. Most often we're forced to meet at midnight. Yeah, fuck you. I read, though, that child dies of starvation every 30 seconds. And so since then, that's how I've been keeping track of how long it takes me when performing oral sex on my girlfriend for her to come. On Tuesday, it was 7 kids. On Thursday, it was 12. That was the end of the fucking joke. But I try to see the silver lining, and otherwise, gray cloud. We take all those children who die of starvation every day. I just figure there go a whole bunch of mouths which we'd otherwise have to feed. But I think I'm getting better. I'm getting healthier, and I no longer find myself writing jokes about rape and murder. Now I just go out and do it. Well, I recently joined Montreal's Gay Straight Alliance. We go around the city beating up the bisexuals. Although I recently escaped from the home for people with absolutely no sense of direction, and I'd go back if it weren't for the fact that they sadistically beat me. That's like 3 physical abuse jokes in a row. I guess normally it's Holocaust jokes I have that problem with, but the Nazis did some just unconscionable things. They actually forced the Jews to work the crematoria on Saturdays. But in general, I don't like to tell jokes of the Holocaust, so I like to keep my material fresh. This is normally the time of my set when I do a little dance number, but I think we're short on time, so I might, just keep it how we're going. I don't know, but I think the one thing preventing me from killing myself is the fear that I might also dislike being dead, because then I'd have absolutely nothing to look forward to. And really, what else gives life its meaning if not the hope of a better tomorrow? I know a lot of people come to comedy shows expecting to laugh and enjoy themselves, but you know what? Life isn't fair. And I think the sooner we all realize this, the brighter my star's gonna shine. So I'll do away with the fucking self-denial. I don't know. I don't like this joke at all, but it's on the paper, so what choice do I have? But I think I'm developing a drinking problem. It's starting to interfere with my drug habit. But I do, I really like those sort of black lights they have, like Tim Hortons washrooms. I think they create a nice mood, so I put them into my apartment, and everything's really nice, except that now my arms are just fucking riddled with holes. But I find myself being fairly progressive. I'm not prejudiced like others against queers. I realize that sexuality isn't a choice, and accordingly, I don't judge them for their deviancy. But I just feel bad for homosexual men. I mean, they're just so marginalized. No wonder they're forced to having to sleep with other men. Over the years, I've developed quite the dry sense of humor, although I do still have trouble keeping a straight face when sucking cock. I don't know. I guess I went on a vacation. I saw these homeless begging on the streets, and I thought, come on, that's not the way. You gotta be the difference you want. And they're just lazy too. I think that's their main problem. I mean, about half of them didn't bother to finish growing all their limbs. And it's difficult because sometimes I walk down the street and I'm wearing a nice suit, and the homeless people still ask me for change, and it's difficult for me to communicate that I still don't care. Thank you.
David Heti.